The wedding hall was drenched in light. Crystal chandelier spilled white brilliance across the marble floor. Designer dress shimmered under the lights. Polished shoes reflected the glow. Champagne glasses clinked softly as guests laughed and posed for photos. This was not just a wedding. It was a statement, and at the center of it all stood Arsalan Sheikh. He wore a tailored black tuxedo. His posture was confident. His smile was perfectly rehearsed. Tonight, he wasn't just a groom. He was a success story, a self-made businessman, a man people recognized, a man celebrate what he called a new beginning. Beside him stood his bride, Zara Malik. She glowed in a deep, red bridal gown, elegant, flawless, exactly the kind of woman Arsalan wanted the world to see. On his arm, camera stayed focused on there. Guests whispered approvingly. Perfect couple, someone said. Arsalan smiled wider. But every few moments his eyes drifted toward the entrance of the hall. He was waiting for someone. She hasn't arrived yet. Arsalan asked quietly. He leaned toward his friend Samir. Samir smirked. Relax, he said. With an invitation like that, she won't miss it. Arsalan's lips curved into a satisfied smile. Good, he replied. 3 years earlier, Arsalan had divorced his first wife, Ayla. Not because of betrayal, not because of hatred, but because Ayla no longer fit the life he wanted. Ayla was simple, middle class, soft-spoken. She believed in growing together, in patience, in loyalty. When they married, Arsalan had promised her a future they would build side by side. But when success came quickly, everything changed. Money arrived, power followed, status reshaped his world, and Ayla became an inconvenience. Her modest clothes embarrassed him. Her quiet nature irritated him. Her lack of ambition annoyed him. One evening he said it plainly, "You're not on my level anymore." The divorce was quick, clean, cold. Ayla moved into a small apartment on the edge of the city. She searched for work. She rebuilt herself silently. She never spoke badly about Arsalan. She never created drama. She simply disappeared from his world. But Arsalan couldn't let that be the end. So he sent her a wedding invitation. A thick, golden envelope, elegant lettering, a single line inside. You should attend my wedding. Some memories deserve closure. It wasn't closure he wanted. It was humiliation. He wanted Ayla to walk in alone, wearing something simple. Surrounded by luxury she no longer belonged to. He wanted the whispers, the stares, the comparisons. He wanted her to see what she had lost. She needs to understand her mistake, he had told Samir. She walked away from all of this. Samir laughed it off. He didn't realize how carefully the moment was planned. Across the city, Ayla stood in front of her mirror. She didn't own designer dresses. She didn't borrow jewelry. Instead, she chose a white sari her mother had given her. Simple, elegant, honest. She looked at her reflection. I'm just a guest, she whispered. No anger, no bitterness, no desire to prove anything. She took a deep breath and left for the wedding. Back inside the hall, the music softened. The announcer spoke into the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our special guests. Arsalan straightened. His gaze locked onto the entrance. Outside, a black stretch limousine rolled to a stop. Conversations halted. A valet rushed forward. He opened the door. Whose limousine is that? Someone asked. Did another very important person arrive? Another whispered. Arsalan's confidence flickered for the first time. The door opened slowly. A woman stepped out. Her movements were calm, her posture graceful. She wore a white sari. Her makeup was subtle. Her expression was composed. It was Ayla, but not the Ayla Arsalan remembered. The music inside faded. Guests leaned forward. Whispers spread. Is that her? That's his ex-wife? Ayla turned briefly toward a man standing beside the limousine. He wore a sharp suit. He carried himself like someone used to power. He held the door respectfully as she walked away. Ayla lifted her eyes toward the wedding hall, and then she walked inside. With every step, the atmosphere shifted. Arsalan felt it in his chest. This wasn't the moment he had planned. And deep down, he knew one thing. This was only the beginning. Ayla entered the wedding hall slowly. Her heels made a soft sound against the polished floor. Every step felt steady, controlled, intentional. The whispers followed her immediately. Heads turned, eyes widened. Some guests stopped mid-conversation. Others leaned closer, trying to recognize her face. That's her. Arslan's ex-wife. I thought she was poor. She came in a limousine? The murmurs grew louder. But Ayla did not look around. She did not search for Arslan. She did not lower her gaze. She walked forward as if she belonged there. Because she did. At the stage, Arslan stood frozen. His smile had disappeared. His jaw tightened. For the first time that night he felt exposed. This was not how it was supposed to happen. He had imagined Ayla arriving quietly, late, alone, uncomfortable. He had imagined her standing at the back, avoiding eye contact, feeling small. Instead she looked calm, centered, untouchable. Samir leaned toward him. What the hell is going on? He whispered. Arslan didn't answer. His eyes were locked on Ayla. Zara noticed the shift immediately. She followed his gaze. Her smile faltered for half a second. Who is that? She asked softly. Arslan hesitated. That's Ayla. Zara's eyebrows lifted. Your ex-wife? Yes. Zara looked Ayla up and down. The sari, the posture, the confidence. That's not what I expected, she said. Arslan swallowed. Neither did I. Ayla stopped near the guest seating area. An usher approached her politely. May I help you find your seat, ma'am? Ayla smiled. I'm fine. She scanned the room once. Her eyes briefly met Arslan's, just for a second. There was no anger in her expression, no sadness, no longing, only calm recognition. Then she looked away. That hurt more than anything else. Arslan felt a strange twist in his chest. He told himself it was irritation. Nothing more. The music resumed. The ceremony continued, but the mood had shifted. Guests kept glancing toward Ayla. Some out of curiosity, some out of disbelief. A few out of admiration. Arslan tried to refocus. He laughed at jokes. He posed for photos, but his attention kept drifting back. He needed answers. At the edge of the hall, the man from the limousine entered. He was tall, well-dressed, confident, without arrogance. Several guests recognized him instantly. Whispers started again. That's him, the investor, the one from the board. What is he doing here? The man walked straight toward Ayla. He stopped in front of her. He nodded respectfully. I hope I'm not late, he said. You're right on time, Ayla replied. Their exchange was brief, but it was enough. Enough to unsettle the room. Arslan watched closely. His heart began to race. Who was this man? Why did he look at Ayla like that? Zara noticed his distraction. You okay? She asked. Yes, Arslan lied, but his grip on his glass tightened. The man pulled out a chair for Ayla. She sat gracefully. They spoke quietly, occasionally smiling, occasionally nodding like to people completely unbothered by the spectacle around them. Arslan felt something unfamiliar rise inside him. Unease, jealousy, fear. This was not part of the plan. He had invited Ayla to humiliate her. Instead, he felt exposed. The power dynamic had shifted, and he didn't understand how. Samir leaned in again. Bro, he said under his breath. You sure you know what you're dealing with? Arslan didn't respond, because for the first time, he wasn't sure at all, and somewhere deep inside, a question began to form. What if Ayla hadn't lost anything at all? What if he was the one who had miscalculated? The music swelled, the guests applauded, but Arslan stood still, watching the woman he once thought was nothing, now sitting confidently in his world, and slowly taking control of it. Arslan tried to focus on the ceremony. He nodded when expected. He smiled when cameras turned toward him. But his mind was no longer on the stage. It was on Ayla, and the man sitting beside her. He leaned towards Samir again. Find out who that guy is, Arslan whispered. Samir followed Arslan's gaze. His expression shifted slightly. You don't recognize him? Samir asked. Arslan shook his head. Samir lowered his voice. That's Hamza Rehman. Arslan frowned. Who? Samir hesitated. Private equity, logistics, luxury real estate, silent partner in half the city. Arslan's grip tightened around his glass. That's not possible, he said. Samir shrugged. I thought you should know. Arslan looked back at Ayla. She was listening as Hamza spoke. Not nervously, not eagerly, comfortably, as if she had done this 100 times before. Zara noticed Arslan's distraction again. You're very quiet, she said. Just tired, Arslan replied. But Zara's eyes followed his line of sight. She saw Ayla. She saw Hamza. She saw the attention around them. Her smile stiffened. She seems confident, Zara said carefully. Arsalan forced a laugh. Appearances, he replied. But even he didn't believe it. The ceremony reached its end. Applause filled the hall. Guests stood. Music grew louder. The newlyweds walked down the aisle. Arsalan waved. He posed. But his eyes never left Ayla's table. As dinner was announced, guests began moving. Servers carried trays of expensive dishes. Wine flowed freely. The hall buzzed with conversation. Arsalan final. Why excused himself. I'll be right back, he told Zara. He walked toward Ayla's table. Every step felt heavier than the last. Hamza noticed him first. He stood politely. A pleasure to finally meet you, Hamza said. His tone was calm, confident, unimpressed. Arsalan forced a smile. I didn't realize we had mutual connections, he said. Hamza glanced briefly at Ayla. We don't, he replied. We have mutual respect. Ayla stood as well. Congratulations on your wedding, she said. Her voice was neutral, controlled. Arsalan searched her face. He expected bitterness, sarcasm, something. But there was nothing. Thank you, Arsalan said. The silence stretched. Guests nearby pretended not to listen, but they were listening. Arsalan cleared his throat. I did expect you to come, he said. Ayla met his eyes. You invited me, she replied. I thought you might want closure, Arsalan said. Ayla tilted her head slightly. Closure is quiet, she said. This is a wedding. Hamza smiled faintly. Arsalan felt heat rise in his chest. He turned to Hamza. So how do you know my ex-wife? Hamza didn't hesitate. She works with me, he said. Arsalan blinked. Works? Ayla spoke before Hamza could continue. I consult, she said. Strategy, operation, risk management. Arsalan stared at her. You? Ayla didn't flinch. Yes, she said. The word landed hard. Samir watched from a distance. Zara approached slowly. Her eyes moved between Ayla and Hamza. This is unexpected, Zara said. Ayla nodded politely. Life often is. A server interrupted, offering champagne. Hamza declined. We're leaving soon, he said. Arsalan felt a sudden urgency. You didn't come all this way just to congratulate us, he said. Ayla looked at him calmly. No, she said. I came because I was invited. And because I no longer run from rooms I once felt small in. The words hit harder than any insult. Hamza pulled Ayla's chair back slightly. Shall we? He asked. Ayla nodded as they turned to leave. Arsalan realized something. This wasn't humiliation. This was bans. And for the first time since his success began, he felt it tipping away from him. Guests watched as Ayla walked out. Not rushed, not shaken, still composed, still in control. Arsalan remained standing. His wedding continued around him. But something essential had already slipped through his fingers, and he didn't yet understand how much he was about to lose. Ayla walked out of the hall without looking back. The heavy doors closed softly behind her. The music inside continued. Laughter followed, but something had cracked. Outside, the night air felt cooler, cleaner. Hamza opened the limousine door for her. Are you okay? He asked. Ayla nodded. I'm fine, she said. And for the first time, it was true. They drove away quietly. The city lights blurred past the window. Ayla rested her head back against the seat, her heart deadly as calm, but her mind was sharp. Inside the wedding hall, Arsalan stood frozen. Guests pretended nothing had happened, but they had seen it. They had felt it. The whispers were no longer about Ayla's past. They were about her present and about Arsalan's mistake. Zara finally spoke. You didn't tell me she was this, she said. Arsalan forced a laugh. This, he repeated, confident. Zara replied, connected, powerful. Arsalan clenched his jaw. She's playing a role, he said. Zara didn't respond. She looked unconvinced. Samir approached cautiously. Bro, he said quietly, that guy she was with. Arsalan turned sharply. What about him? He just pulled out of the East Harbor deal. Arsalan's chest tightened. What? Samir nodded. I got the message 5 minutes ago. That deal was solid, Arsalan said. Samir hesitated. Not anymore. Arsalan felt the room spin slightly. He steadied himself against the table. Zara noticed. Is everything okay? She asked. Yes, Arsalan lied again, but the doubt had entered deep. uncomfortable. Across the city, Ayla stepped out of the limousine. They stopped in front of a modern glass building. Security opened the doors immediately. No hesitation, no questions. Hamza walked beside her. Tomorrow will be noisy, he said. I know, Ayla replied. Are you ready for that? She paused, then smiled faintly. I've been ready for years. Back at the wedding, Arsalan tried to regain control. He raised his glass for a toast. He spoke about love, about fresh start, about growth. The words sounded hollow. Guests applauded politely, but the energy had shifted. Phones buzzed quietly in pockets. Messages traveled fast. By the time the cake was cut, the rumors had already spread. She works with Hamza Rahman. She arrived in his limousine. She left like she owned the place. Zara stood beside Arsalan. Her smile never fully returned. Later that night, when the guests had thinned, Arsalan sat alone at the bar. Samir joined him. You okay? Samir asked. Arsalan stared into his drink. She was supposed to feel small, he said quietly. Samir said nothing. She was supposed to regret leaving. Arsalan continued. Samir sighed. Maybe she didn't lose anything, he said. Arsalan's hand tightened around the glass. Outside, fireworks lit the sky. Celebration, noise, victory. But Arsalan felt none of it. Instead, a single thought repeated in his mind. What if Ayla didn't come to be humiliated? What if she came to remind him? Across town, Ayla stood by a window. City lights reflected in the glass. Hamza stood nearby, giving her space. You did well, he said softly. I didn't do anything, Ayla replied. Yes, Hamza said. You did. Ayla closed her eyes briefly. She thought of the years she felt invisible, small, replaceable. Tonight had changed something. Not because she embarrassed him, but because she no longer needed his approval. And somewhere far away, in a hall filled with fading music, Arsalan began to understand. The invitation he sent to humiliate her had become the moment. He lost control of the story. The morning after the wedding felt heavier than the night itself. Arsalan woke up in a luxury hotel suite. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, but the brightness did nothing to ease his mind. Zara lay beside him, facing away, silent, distant. Arsalan sat up slowly. His phone was already buzzing. Missed calls, unread messages, notifications stacked one over another. He scrolled through them. Partnership concerns, meeting cancellation, a delayed contract review. His jaw tightened. This was not coincidence. At breakfast, Zara finally spoke. You embarrassed me last night, she said quietly. Arsalan looked up. I didn't plan any of that, he replied. But you caused it, she said. She walked in like she owned the room. Arsalan frowned. She was trying to make a point, he said. Zara placed her cup down gently. And what was your point? Arsalan had no answer. Later that day, Arsalan arrived at his office. The lobby felt colder than usual. Employees avoided eye contact. His assistant approached nervously. Sir Hamza Rahman has officially withdrawn from 3 joint ventures. Arsalan froze. 3. Yes, she replied. And 2 more partners requested revisions. Arsalan felt the ground shift beneath him. He locked himself in his office. He replayed the night again and again. Ayla's calm voice, her steady eyes, her refusal to be impressed. Across the city, Ayla sat in a glass-walled conference room. She reviewed documents calmly, focused, prepared. Hamza stood near the window. You don't need to be involved this deeply, he said. Ayla looked up. I choose to be, she replied. This was her world now. Back at Arsalan's office, Samir rushed in. We have a problem, he said. Arsalan looked up sharply. The board wants an explanation. For what? For why you invited Ayla. Arsalan laughed bitterly. They think this is about emotions. Samir shook his head. They think it's about judgment. The word stung. That evening, Arsalan stood alone in his penthouse. The city lights felt distant, hollow. He poured himself a drink, then another. His phone rang. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. This is Arsalan. There was a pause, then a familiar voice. You wanted closure, Ayla said. Arsalan's breath caught. I didn't expect your call, he replied. I know, Ayla said. I just wanted to say one thing. Arsalan waited. You invited me to remind me what I lost, she continued. But I didn't lose you. I lost a version of myself that stayed silent. Arsalan closed his eyes. Ayla, she interrupted gently. I'm not angry. I'm done. The call ended. Arsalan stared at his phone. For the first time, he felt something close to regret. Not because he lost her, but because he underestimated her. Across the city, Ayla ended the call and exhaled slowly. Hamza looked at her. You okay? She nodded. Yes, she said, and this time, she meant it. She looked down at the city. Below, the woman who once felt small, now stood on her own ground, and far away. Arsalan began to realize that humiliation doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like silence. Walking away, the next few days were unforgiving. Emails went unanswered, calls were returned late, meetings were postponed without explanation. Arsalan felt it everywhere. In boardrooms, in silence, in the way people spoke carefully around him. At home, Zara grew distant, not angry, just observant. She watched him the way one watches a structure beginning to crack. You built your success on image, she said one night, and images are fragile. Arsalan snapped back. You think this is about Ayla? Zara met his eyes. I think this is about respect, she replied. The word lingered. At work, the pressure intensified. The board scheduled an emergency review. Legal teams requested audits. Investors wanted reassurance. Arsalan tried to project control, but control slipped faster each day. Across the city, Ayla's life moved forward quietly. She didn't give interviews. She didn't post online. She didn't respond to rumors. She worked. She planned. She listened. Hamza watched her carefully. You're changing things without making noise, he said. That's the point, Ayla replied. One afternoon, Arsalan received another message. This one wasn't from a partner. It was from a reporter. Care to comment on your ex-wife's role in recent market shifts? Arsalan deleted it, but the damage was done. That evening he stood in front of a mirror. He barely recognized himself. The confidence felt forced. The smile felt practiced. He remembered the man he used to be, hungry, focused, driven. Somewhere along the way, he had mistaken dominance for success. At a late-night board meeting, the chairman spoke bluntly. Your personal decisions have professional consequences, he said. Arsalan stiffened. This is business, he replied. So is judgment, the chairman answered. The meeting ended without resolution. Arsalan walked out knowing something irreversible had begun. Across town, Ayla stood before a small audience. Not on a stage. Not behind a microphone. Just a meeting room. A whiteboard. Ideas exchanged freely. Her voice was steady, clear, respected. When the meeting ended, a junior analyst approached her. I didn't know someone like you could come from that situation, he said. Ayla smiled gently. Neither did I, she replied. That night, Arsalan sat alone again. The penthouse felt empty. Not because it lacked people, but because it lacked meaning. He finally admitted the truth to himself. He hadn't invited Ayla for closure. He had invited her for validation, and she had refused to give it. Meanwhile, Ayla stood by her window. City lights shimmered below. She felt no revenge, no satisfaction, only clarity. She hadn't won by arriving in a limousine. She had won by leaving without needing anything, and somewhere in the distance, two lives continued forward, one chasing what was slipping away, the other building something that could not be taken. The pressure finally reached a breaking point. Arsalan sat in the boardroom surrounded by familiar faces that no longer looked loyal. The chairman cleared his throat. We need to talk about leadership, he said. Arsalan stiffened. I'm the leadership, he replied. A woman across the table shook her head slowly. You were, she said. The room went quiet. One by one concerns were raised. Risk exposure, public perception, unstable partnerships, poor judgment. Each word felt heavier than the last. Arsalan tried to defend himself. He spoke about numbers, about growth, about past success, but the room wasn't listening anymore. They had already decided. By the end of the meeting, Arsalan was asked to step aside temporarily. The word temporary echoed in his mind. He walked out of the building in silence. Outside, the city moved as usual. Cars passed. People laughed. Life continued. But for Arsalan, something had ended. That same evening, Zara packed her suitcase. I need space, she said calmly. Arsalan did. To argue, he didn't even try. He watched her leave. Alone again. Acro. The city. Ayla received an email. A new contract. A leadership role. Long-term. She read it twice, then closed her laptop. Hamza noticed her smile. Good news? He asked. Yes, Ayla replied, but not for the reasons you think. She walked outside. The evening air was soft, peaceful. She thought about the wedding, the limousine, the shock, and how small that moment felt now. What mattered wasn't who watched her arrive. It was who she had become when no one was watching. Later that night, Arsalan sat in darkness. No music, no distractions, just silence. He replayed Ayla's final words. I'm done. Not angry, not dramatic, final for the first time. He understood the truth. He hadn't lost her because she was weak. He lost her because she grew stronger, and he couldn't keep up. Across the city, Ayla prepared for the next day. Notes arranged, goals clear, no fear, no need to prove anything. She turned off the lights and slept peacefully. 2 lives, 2 paths, one built on image, the other on substance. And as dawn approached, only one of them was moving forward. The weeks that followed were quiet. Not empty, just calm. Arsalan's name slowly faded from headlines. Deals moved on without him. Meetings happened without his presence. He became a man watching doors close that once opened automatically. One afternoon he walked past the wedding hall. The same place, different silence, no lights, no music, no applause. He stood there longer than he meant to, thinking about how a single invitation had changed everything, not because Ayla arrived in a limousine, but because she left without asking for anything. Across the city, Ayla stood in a different kind of room, not decorated, not loud, just purposeful. She led a meeting calmly, her voice steady, her ideas respected. No one interrupted her, no one questioned her worth. When the meeting ended, a colleague smiled and said, "You have a strong presence." Ayla smiled back. "Thank you," she replied. That night, Ayla returned home, a small place, warm, quiet. She placed her keys down and looked at her reflection, not searching, not doubting, just recognizing. She remembered the woman who once thought silence was survival, who believed being chosen meant being valued. That woman felt distant now. Across town, Arsalan sat alone. No anger left, only understanding. He finally accepted what he had done. He hadn't invited Ayla to witness his happiness. He had invited her to reassure himself, and she had refused to play that role. The humiliation he planned for her had returned to him quietly, without laughter, without spectacle, just truth. Weeks later, Arsalan received a short message, no accusation, no emotion, just closure. "I hope you find what you're looking for." He read it twice, then set the phone down. Across the city, Ayla walked through a park. Sunlight filtered through trees. Children laughed. Life moved gently. She breathed deeply, free. She hadn't won by becoming rich. She hadn't won by being admired. She had won the moment she stopped needing approval, and somewhere between a wedding invitation and a limousine arrival, a woman reclaimed herself, not loudly, not dramatically, but complete. And that was the real shock no one saw coming.